The year is 2024 and you are watching this channel. It's me, the world is forever changed today. Today we discovered a new continent. How did it happen? Good question. It was through a routine check of satellite imagery that experts noticed something unusual. A previously uncharted landmass had appeared in the ocean between Asia and Antarctica. At first, they thought it was a trick of the light or an error in the image. But further analysis revealed the shocking truth. There was a massive, we're talking hundreds of thousands of square miles here, contiguous dry land that no human being has ever set foot on until now. How did this happen? Scientists aren't exactly sure. It appears as though this landmass was once connected to the mainland, but broke off at some point in the last few thousand years and just now floated away. Now word gets out about this discovery. The globe is in shock. Every major news network runs wall-to-wall coverage for days. They dub it the eighth continent, and every one of us is wondering the same thing. What's over there? After the initial media frenzy dies down a bit, expeditions are mounted. Teams of scientists and explorers race to be the first ones to set foot on the mysterious new continent. Within weeks, the first images are released to the public and people all over the world are shocked by what they see. There are strange plants and animals unlike anything we've seen before, rivers and lakes and mountains. There are even signs of human habitation. What kind of people live there? Are they primitive or have they reached the same level of technological advancement as us? Maybe they have technology that we don't have. And are there any natural resources? For the moment, no one really knows. This is truly terra incognita, a blank slate for us to write our next chapter on. As time goes on, more and more expeditions are mounted to the new continent. The first scientific revolution is upon us. Some of the specimens brought back include fossils that push back the history of life on Earth by millions of years. There are minerals and elements that have never been seen before. In fact, the raw materials found on this continent could help us develop advanced technologies beyond our wildest dreams. But none of that happens right away. First, we need to understand what we found. This continent is going to change everything. No matter where you live on Earth, your life is about to get a whole lot more interesting. For the nation that discovers the new continent first, it's going to completely change everything. They'll become a world power practically overnight and will have unprecedented opportunities for wealth and growth. Not only do they get to claim all the land and resources on the continent, but they also get to decide how the rest of the world interacts with it. They may not want everyone coming over and taking stuff. But if the country isn't careful, they could end up changing the world for the worse. Let us take a look at how the discovery of a new continent would change everything for the country that found it. As soon as the existence of the new continent is confirmed, the nation that discovered it would immediately become the most powerful nation on Earth. It wouldn't matter if they were a small, weak country like Costa Rica or a superpower like the United States. The mere fact that they were the first to find the new continent would give them an advantage that other countries would kill for. The first order of business would be to send a fleet to lay claim to all the land and resources on the continent. They would establish a base of operations and begin surveying the land to see what resources were available. These resources could be anything from gold and oil to rare earth elements and fresh water. Depending on the location of the new continent, it could also have a huge impact on the climate. By studying the geology of the continent, we could learn more about the history of the Earth and possibly even predict its future. In addition to the natural resources on the continent, there would also be the opportunity to grow crops and raise livestock. This could be a huge boon to the country that discovered the new continent, especially if they were able to produce food that was in high demand, but in short supply in their home country. For example, if the country was located in a temperate zone, they could start growing coffee, tea, or wine, which could then be exported back home for a profit. Additionally, the country could use the continent as a way to get ahead of other countries in terms of development. By establishing a strong economy and infrastructure on a new continent, They could attract investment and create jobs for their citizens. If the country is able to play its cards right, the discovery of the new continent could literally change everything for it. However, if the country is not careful, it could also make things worse. Here's why. The discovery of a new continent would cause an economic power shift like never before. The first country to discover the new continent would immediately become the most powerful country in the world. This is because it would have access to all the resources on the continent, which could include anything from gold and oil to rare earth elements and fresh water. In addition, the country would also have the opportunity to grow crops and raise livestock on the continent, which could further strengthen its economy. Other countries would be very jealous of this newfound power and would do anything they could to get some of the pie for themselves. This could lead to conflict as countries try to muscle in on the action. For example, let's say that the country that discovered the new continent was a small, weak country like Costa Rica. In this case, other countries like the United States or China would likely try to bully Costa Rica into giving them access to the continent's resources. Costa Rica would obviously want to avoid this happening, so it would need to form alliances with other countries in order to protect itself. The discovery of a new continent would completely change the global economy. Countries that were once considered to be major players would suddenly find themselves on the sidelines. For example, let's say that the new continent was rich in oil. The Middle Eastern countries who currently control the oil supply would suddenly become much less important. In addition, the discovery of new resources often leads to new technologies. For example, the discovery of rubber in Brazil led to the development of tires. Similarly, the discovery of the new continent could lead to the development of technologies that we can't even imagine yet. This could put even more power in the hands of the country that discovers the new continent, as it would have access to these new technologies before anyone else. The discovery of a new continent would also bring about a political tension like never before. Each country would want to claim as much of the continent for itself as possible in order to gain the upper hand. This could lead to conflict as countries try to muscle in on the action. For example, two countries could get into a fight over who gets to control the shipping lanes into the continent. Or two countries could go to war over conflicting claims of land ownership. It is possible that the discovery of a new continent could even change the balance of power between countries. For example, if the new continent was rich in resources, it could make a poor country suddenly rich and powerful. On the other hand, it could also make a rich country suddenly poor if it drained its resources too quickly. In short, the discovery of a new continent would completely change the global political landscape. As the rest of the world scrambles to get its hands on the new continent's resources, it would be up to the country that discovered it to decide how it wants to respond. Does it want to play nice and share the wealth, or does it want to hoard all the resources for itself? Whatever it decides, it's sure to have a profound impact on the entire planet. The discovery of a new continent would be one of the greatest discoveries in human history. It would open up new possibilities for trade, travel, and cultural exchange. It would also give us a new perspective on the history of our planet. The impact of this discovery would be felt for centuries to come. There are so many questions that are still unanswered. What kind of people live there? Are they primitive, or have they reached the same level of technological advancement as us? Are there any natural resources? The possibilities are really endless. One thing is for sure, though. Life as we know it would change forever. What do you think? How do you think humanity would react to the discovery of a new continent? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.